Two NASA astronauts have successfully boarded the International Space Station, wrapping up the first leg of a historic mission into orbit. Now, it's the first time that NASA astronauts have launched from the United States since the Space Shuttle was retired back in 2011. This historic mission also marks the first time that a private company has flown astronauts to orbit. Elon Musk, the South African-born owner of SpaceX, has labelled the successful launch and docking a proud day for him and for every person, he says, who has a spirit of exploration. Let's unpack the story now. We're joined by astronomer Professor David Block. Thanks very much, Professor, for your time this morning on the AM Report. You know, there's a lot unfolding in our country, around the world. There are a lot of challenges we're facing here. Someone cheekily sort of remarked on Twitter that it was a good idea to leave the planet over the weekend.
I think it was an amazing launch. I mean, when I looked at the technology, and I just saw that I could look into the command module and the liftoff and then the docking of Dragon with the International Space Station. This was really cutting-edge technology. And I think it helps us lift up, you know, from a very severely stricken corona planet to look up to see what can happen when we look up, when we are inspired, when we filled with vision, when we filled with hope, when we filled with enthusiasm. It has ignited my soul. And the point is this, as you've correctly said, this is a huge landmark experience because it's the first time ever that a commercial spacecraft has been built and sent to the International Space Station from U.S. soil. And we have to remember that in large part this is a South African exercise too, with Elon Musk at the helm of the CEO SpaceX. But I just think that what struck me, and I've covered so many space missions over the years, is what struck me is that there were 10 million people busy looking in over the weekend. It's extraordinary. You know what also struck me yesterday was just the ease with which the astronauts moved from Dragon to ISS. There was a sense of comfort. You know, these astronauts, I've had meals with one of them. They are so comfortable. Nothing phases them. It's so good to have such role models, especially for young minds at this time. But yes, this marks the beginning of a new era in space exploration to take the public eventually to the International Space Station and then further afield to take us to the moon, and then of course Elon Musk's dream to take us to Mars.
Yeah.
So I think that it is an astoundingly resounding success, and I'm just so proud that you know, a South African brain is actually behind all of this.
No, absolutely. You talk about space tourism. I mean, 5-10 years ago, this would have been something completely unthinkable to, I suppose, not to you, but perhaps to ordinary people like myself. But now it's really becoming something that is sort of more and more of a reality in the very near future. How far off do you reckon it is?
You know, I mean, the point is, I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, it was Mark Shuttleworth who went up into space, and he paid a handsome suit of payment of $220 million US. I believe they're starting to cut in at around 60-70 million US dollars per seat. But I would say, given the current rate of technology and the ease with which this entire mission went forth, that certainly within the next decade, I think certainly the wealthier people can afford rides on these stations. You know, I had occasion over the weekend to look at the technology on the Apollo 11 craft compared to this, and this is so streamlined Dragon, the Crew Dragon, so beautifully, just some large screens, no fuss. And the ease and the technology we have today, I don't think it's going to be too long before you and I can actually be in orbit and look down and see our pale blue dot. Wasn't that a magnificent scene about 3 minutes into orbit? how they actually just looked at. It's very comfortable. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think with Elon Musk at the helm, I have the utmost confidence that, that will happen. But also, there's some very important experiments which are happening, and this hasn't been widely aired on television, but they've taken up some heart cells to see if they can grow heart cells from stem cells. And that's extremely interesting. Cardiac cells created from stem cells. And, heart problems, cardiac arrest, one of the number one killers of death in the U.S. Now, they've taken that on board the ISS as well. So from a medical point of view, and from a geographical point of view, Earth and space science, I'm just so excited. But I think what's so exciting to me is that this is space travel. It causes us to look up. There's such rigid, beautiful science taking place amidst all the negativity of the corona that it really shows us what the ingenuity of the human spirit can do when it soars to new heights.
Wow, what a wonderful way of looking at it. You sound so excited. I bet you're halfway to saving up for that 60 million USD to get on board to make your way into space?
I suppose one would need to raise a sponsor here or there. I don't know if you've got 60 million US spare for a little ride. But the point is this. I think it'll do this. Here, this is very important. I think it's going to do the human psyche very good, even if a few people initially start traveling up into space, because we'll be watching them. It was like I was in the command module, right? It was 10 million people. So the point is, we need people to inspire us. That's what, Plutarch said, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire, a veritable fire to be lit. And that's why I'm here with you today. I'm trying to light the mindsets of our leaders of tomorrow.
Well, you've certainly ignited my spirit here this morning. Thank you so much for your time. Professor David Block there, an astronomer, talking to us there about what this means, what happened over the weekend with SpaceX and those two NASA astronauts. He's talking about just it showing the sheer extent of the human mind.